Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome everyone to our City Council meeting for April the 3rd, 2017. The first item on our agenda is to conduct a meeting of the Mesa Housing Services Governing Board. So I'd like to call that meeting to order. We welcome as part of this board, Mr. Ken Dennis. Ken, thank you for joining us. The first item on our agenda is items from citizens present. Ms. Mickelson, have there been any requests to speak?
No requests.
There have not. Next item on our agenda is approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mr. Luna, and second by Mr. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes. Item 3 on our agenda is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution regarding the board's fiscal year 2017-18 Public Housing Agency Annual Plan. I declare the public hearing open. Does anyone in the public want to speak on this item? Hearing none. Any board members want to address this item? I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Thank you. And a second? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. The next item on our agenda is to hear a presentation, discuss, and approve the Section 8 Administrative Plan to be effective July 1st, 2017. Liz, good to have you back with us. Please proceed with the presentation.
Mayor, council members, thank you for having us today. I have here Mary Brandon, who is our Section 8 Program Manager, and she does a wonderful job, and so she will be available for any questions you may have. I just want to quickly go through this presentation. I want to quickly discuss with you what the Housing Choice Voucher Program is. You already approved the resolution for our Public Housing Annual Plan. Also discuss and approve the changes to the Section 8 Administrative Plan, and also give you just a few highlights of the program. The Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8, is a rental assistance program for very low-income families and individuals. We serve over 1,715 households with our vouchers, which is about $11 million in funding, including the administrative and what we pay to the landlords. HUD requires 2 things from us for this program. One is a 5-year agency plan in which we have to update annually. And second is to ensure that we have updated policies that are consistent with HUD guidelines. The agency plan outline really covers the operation, mission, and goals. And every year we give them an update on how we've been doing on those goals, any new activities, and any changes to our policies. This resolution was already passed, but again, it authorizes us to submit that to HUD, which is required. The Section 8 Administrative Plan is the document that HUD requires us to have to fill in the holes where the regulations don't specify policies. And so it covers things like eligibility of participants, how we approve and deny assistance. There's a section on how we calculate income for those who are disabled, and also our selection process for the waiting list. And those are some of the items that we updated this year.
Excuse me, Liz.
Yes.
One of the items on that last slide talked about the use of arrest records.
Yes.
Is there eligibility issues related to criminal history?
Mayor, historically, housing agencies have been able to use arrest records to deny assistance or to terminate assistance. What HUD has directed us is to only use that as a source of information, not as a reason for decision. So we can take that into consideration, but it cannot be the sole source for our decision making.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. Arrest certainly is not proof of conviction of a crime.
Correct.
So whether or not someone's been arrested or not would not be a factor in determining whether they're eligible, but that just alerts you to the fact that prompts an additional inquiry saying, did your arrest result in a conviction of a felony that is one of the felonies that that would make you ineligible for Section 8 housing?
Yes, and what happens often, Mayor, is that when those things arise, we may wait until further information is provided if there is a conviction. That's what HUD is guiding us to do now. That also may prompt us to look at any other criminal history that might be present. And we do a criminal history background check before they come in the program and annually, but sometimes things happen that it doesn't get into those records right away. But in the past, we were able to use what we call And now I'm phasing out on that word. But before we didn't need convictions, preponderance of evidence. Thank you. That's up your alley, right, Mayor? Preponderance of
Heard the
evidence.
phrase, yeah.
We were able to use that prior, but now that's only a source of information versus a use that we can make in our decisions on whether they come into our program or if they continue on our program.
And I apologize for delving maybe too much into this, but just out of curiosity, what criminal convictions would make you ineligible for Section 8 program participation?
And I'm going to answer these questions.
That's
and
in the
Mary, you
weeds. I'm
correct
sorry.
me, but that's okay.
You can give it to me
and
later.
only
if it's
because I
not.
ran the Section 8 program prior to coming to Mesa.
Okay.
But really, we're looking primarily at violent and gun-related. But we will look at all charges because we can look at patterns. So drugs drugs and violent activity is an immediate denial or a reason for termination. Okay. If there's a pattern, for instance, of burglaries, of other type of activities, we will take that into account and make those decisions based on pattern of criminal activity.
Okay.
And
that's consistent with HUD's policies?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and just HUD allows each agency to make those decisions on criminal activity as to what we allow and deny. So we tend to have a 5-year rule on non-crime and non-drugs, 3-year rule for anything that's happened in the past 3 years for anything related to drugs and crime, violent activity.
What happens if they're, and again, I apologize for
Sure.
everybody in the room for beating this horse, but there's a conviction after they're in the program. Do they have an affirmative duty to alert us to the fact that they've become ineligible, or?
So we ask them to report those things, they never do.
Right.
So the reality is we'll find out at the annual search, and then we can look at what that criminal conviction is about and then make a determination. They have a right to appeal it. So even though we might go to terminate, they have a right to due process.
Okay, thank you.
Just some changes, the waiting list. We've had up to now a priority, a preference for those who are chronically homeless. One of our concerns is we've been housing a lot of people who are chronically homeless without any support services. So we are changing this preference for any future wait list applicants so that we can work collaboratively with those agencies that serve homeless individuals and be able to identify them and make sure that they have the services along with their housing. So that's one of the changes to the wait list. Another thing is the project-based voucher program, which we are using for homeless families. We are looking to be able to transition that into getting the referrals through our regional homeless coordinated system. So those are two changes.
I have a question on the regional homeless coordination. Mm-hmm. Are those Mesa homeless or are those regional homeless?
So when we go through the regional homeless coordination, we've had several meetings with them. It will be for those who are families residing or coming from Mesa experiencing homelessness. So that will be a requirement of their entry. Yes.
Mr. Winkle.
Is that coordinated entry, is that the CAS? Or
Mayor, Councilmember Winkle, it's actually the project-based vouchers will be the coordinated entry for both families and singles. Right now, the families are much more would be the referral source primarily because their majority are 2, 3, 4 bedrooms. But if we have single bedrooms, we would open that up to the single side, which is through the Welcome Center in Phoenix.
Mr. Freeman.
Hi, Liz. The chronically homeless, what are some of the wraparound services you can provide to help move them out of those arenas?
Mayor, Councilmember Freeman, I will tell you that we would look to an agency that currently does that. For instance, Save the Family, Community Bridges, A New Leaf, they all have a variety of wraparound services. So if we're going to attach a voucher to supportive services, we'll be looking to an experienced agency to develop those type of wraparound services.
Can you describe what
Sure.
specific service they might provide?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So what they'll do is from the time of identification, they'll get them through things like getting their IDs, getting them into mainstream benefits, employment, helping them budget, helping them with how to cook. A lot of those type of skills that they haven't had because they've been living on the streets. And then they also work on connecting them to natural supports in the system or in the community. For instance, if they have substance abuse disorders, they might connect them to programs for substance abuse services. They might connect them to the behavioral health system for mental health services, and a lot of them are connecting them back to getting services through the doctor. If they've been, kind of avoiding their health issues, a lot of them are getting help, getting connected back into getting medication or whatever, addressing those health issues. So the wraparound services is really supporting them and finding out what it is they need individually and connecting them to those things. Some highlights about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We have implemented what is called the biannual inspections. Many of our units have done really well where both the landlord and the tenant are maintaining the unit. And if they've passed with flying colors for the last couple years, they can go into only having inspections every 2 years. Should the landlord or the tenant still want that annual inspection, they're welcome to do that, but we have implemented that. That will help reduce the workload both on our side and also help those tenants and landlords that are, to not have that administrative and annual requirement. We also have implemented an applicant portal. That's for all our applicants. We now have 5,800, am I right?
6,800.
Oh, 6,800 applicants. So if they want to update their status on the wait list, they want to check their status on the wait list, there's a way for them to go in online and check that information. Just to give you a update on the VASH program, which serves homeless veterans, we currently have 160 veterans housed. We've housed 71 new homeless veterans in 2016. A couple of challenges: we continue to experience shortage in available housing, especially one-bedroom units. And our referrals have slowed down from the VA for a couple different reasons. One is they're not finding as many veterans, but also the veterans are having difficulty finding eligible units in Mesa. So we're working with the VA and with HUD to address those challenges and find possibilities of how we can improve those resources for them.
Question, Liz, the 160 vouchers that are being used, that's all the vouchers we have?
Mayor, we have 191 vouchers. So we still have room to issue as they find them and identify them. We are working regionally with City of Phoenix to identify new veterans with navigators. We have two dedicated navigators just to work on the veterans. We have a by name list that's actively being reviewed and trying to find those individuals on that list so we can get them into the VA program.
I think a year or so ago, we did intergov agreements with some of our other neighboring East Valley cities, saying that we would process their VASH vouchers for them. Is that?
Mary, you want to talk about how many people have utilized that?
We have 3 families in Chandler. We have several in Tempe that are considered more of a portability, but we are working on an intergovernment agreement with Pinal County, Apache Junction, and some of those areas there that we believe have some additional housing availability there. But we don't have it approved yet.
And I will say with the work we've done with Gilbert and Cream Creek, the reason we don't have anyone currently living there is really, again, related to the housing units available. So they are able to look into those areas and we'll be happy to house them, but to find eligible units in those areas has been challenging as well.
Well, I think it'd be a good goal for us to have all of those vouchers being used, wouldn't
Yes.
it? And then there's turnover just because people, for whatever reason, move in and out of the program. So
Correct.
it would be great if we got to a VASH voucher waiting list situation similar to what we have in Section 8.
Right.
So
And
we'll do what we can to continue to promote the VASH voucher program to try to make that happen.
And we do have 17, what we call in the pipeline, looking for units that have that voucher. So we're really trying to support those that are currently in that process.
Okay. Well, so just to that end, putting the word out, I mean, if people in the community are aware of veterans that are homeless, we have the capacity right now to solve that problem. So please help us get the word out.
And Mayor, just to add, if they find homeless veterans, there is a place for them to send them to, which is the VA Community Resource and Referral Center. That is where they're identified if they're eligible for the VASH program, or there's several other resources for our homeless veterans if they're not eligible for our VASH program.
Great, thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Liz, through the HCV program, or even really through the VASH, do some of the agencies such as House of Refuge, can they use the vouchers as well?
Mayor, Councilmember Thompson, if they have families are eligible, when we opened our wait list, we notified all our agencies that we work with to please have their families apply. Once we close that wait list, they no longer can apply for that. But I will say on the VASH side, if they identify veteran families that could be eligible for our program, there is a process for them to refer them to us.
Well, I guess because I'm asking is if we're having a problem finding housing, with a shortage, I know that House of Refuge has 30, 40, maybe 50-something houses out there that are still vacant from the first go-around when HUD cut their funding. And so they're trying to put families in those. So if we do have homeless and we're able to use the vouchers, then why not send them to something like the House of Refuge? Because House of Refuge will actually supply that wraparound service to help make these folks sustainable.
Mayor, Councilmember Thompson, that's a great idea. The only thing is that House of Refuge would just be acting as a landlord, and they'd have to enter into a landlord-tenant relationship. But I'd be open to talking to them about having them serve as a landlord in our program for the VASH and the VASH vouchers. That's a great idea.
Good idea, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Liz. Does that conclude your
That
presentation?
concludes my presentation. If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions for Liz? Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the changes to the Section 8 administrative plan? Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is to adjourn. Is there a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mr. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned. We'll now convene the Mesa